any of them, so it's no big deal.
Awesome. So let's kind of talk about, well, we met because I used to work with your wife, and she's awesome, so she suggested I keep my podcast going, and here I am.
She's very supportive in that way. If someone feels they have a creative outlet, she's going to tell them to keep doing it.
Awesome. So I know, well, before we kind of get into what I was talking about in terms of competitions, just kind of give like an overview for the listeners, kind of where you began kind of with comedy and why you're now doing competitions. It's kind of like the backstory, if you will.
So I'm real new. I'm only I say real new. I've been doing it for like almost a year and a half. But in the community, they still look at me like I'm still brand new in a lot of ways because it takes a while to kind of crack through doing open mics and stuff. But I was always super interested in comedy. It was something that I always wanted to try, but I always kind of went in different avenues, whether I was like writing stuff with friends or, doing little sketches or whatever. I always just kind of found some other way to do it with people because that's a really easy way to kind of like guard yourself. Like I've done podcasts before I did comedy with buddies that were super funny and they were a lot of fun to do. But if anything went wrong, I could be like, well, this is on us guys. So it's really easy to kind of keep the shield up. But once we stopped doing the podcast with buddies, I just kind of got a wild hair. Somebody else I knew had tried an open mic and they said they did really well. And I'm like, well, you're not funny at all. So, while I'm not doing the podcast, I'll go give an open mic a shot. And Allie was very supportive and went with me and kind of forced me to do it. And the first night went really well. The crowd was super responsive, even though my jokes totally sucked. And I had a good response. So then I was like, oh, I got to do that again. So then I came back the next week and totally bombed. It's like the worst thing ever. But I was instantly like, well, I did fine the first time. So it kind of made me competitive with myself. I was like, I can do it as good as the first time again. So I went back and kind of fluctuated and still, you kind of learn your footing and stuff. But once I had done a number of open mics, then you start kind of meeting people and they're like, hey, come do this show. And you start getting passed around the circuit. And then if you are decent and a cool person that can get along with